Welcome back, everybody. Thanks again for joining us in these segments that we're calling Democrats Live. I'm Alderman Dave Tenza, joined today by Representative Catherine Sofikitis. Representative, thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for your service at the State House. I know that it's a tremendous sacrifice of time and energy, both running for office and then serving up in Concord. It's you're don't get paid what you're worth, and that's for sure. But I know that's not why you do it as well.
No.
So if you could just tell folks who don't necessarily know you that well a little bit about yourself and why you're running for office.
Well, I have lived in Nashua for 30 years. I had moved to the East Coast from Oregon because there was no nursing jobs on the West Coast, and healthcare was going to boom in Boston, so we came. But I couldn't stand living in the city, and it was the same year that Nashua was rated by Money Magazine as the #1 city to live, and so we moved here, and I continued to commute back and forth to Boston. I love Nashua. I have loved it forever, and when I became a widow, I bought a house for me and my son, and we moved into Ward 7. And I fell in love with Ward 7. Absolutely adore it. I think it's one of the gems of the city.
I agree with you. I campaigned all around the city. I live in Ward 8. I love going, your neighborhood, and then the Crown.
South Nashua.
South Nashua is great too. Crown Hill area,
Yeah.
Great people, nice tight knit community from what I can see.
Yes.
And so you've represented Ward 7 for
One session.
one session.
One session is 2 years, and when I went to Concord, I couldn't believe, I didn't know anything about how state government worked at all, because I'd always been a nurse. And so when I went up there, my eyes got wide open really fast. The first year of the general session is when they do the budget. And so I sat and I watched the budget proceedings go on and on and on. And there's 3 different sections of the budget committee, and it's the most powerful block of representatives up there. And the budget comes from the House of Representatives. And so what I saw was that they take a lot of money from the property tax holders, and then they move it around. However, they decide, this powerful committee decides where it's going to go. And people, regular representatives don't really have a voice in where that money is going to go. The classic example of the first year was that affected Nashua the most was the $100 million tax cut to businesses and the BT tax. And that $100 million went to out-of-state corporations. It did not go to businesses that would spend it here in New Hampshire. At the same time, the business community was begging for workforce training. And so where could that $100 million have gone? It's just gone. It's gone forever. And what they did, they've downshifted their responsibilities down onto local property owners. And this was done 2 years ago in that budget. And it's going to come up now when we get our new property tax assessments. And everybody's is going to go up. And I just don't want people to be calling City Hall or the alderman and saying this is all their fault, they can't run a decent city. Because it's not from here in the city. They're doing their best with what they have. But Concord is stealing all of our property tax revenues and shifting it. $100 million. It's unbelievable to me. The other thing that this state has done is they have not honored their commitment to the state employees' pensions, and they downshifted that onto the cities and towns. This all comes from our property taxes. And so when your property taxes go up, I want you to think that every single Republican in the Nashua delegation voted for this budget, and is the reason your property taxes went up.
And on the Board of Aldermen, I appreciate that. I sit on the Budget Review Committee at the city level, and we've been talking about how the assessment is going to affect property taxes. And because of that, the mayor and the president of the Board of Aldermen we've passed a budget that is well within the spending cap, or what the spending cap would have been, but really not the budget we probably would have passed had all this downshifting not occurred. We would have been able to do a lot more, I guess, is what my point would be, within the spending cap, but for the state coming in and saying, well, all these obligations that we have told you we were going to take care of, we're not going to take care of anymore, and it's up to the cities and towns to figure out how to pay for those. So it's a great point. We appreciate you bringing that up.
I just don't want people to be all over, writing letters to the editor and Facebook and saying that it's a failure on behalf of city government, when the failure is in Concord. And it's vital that we send 27 Democrats as our delegation to Concord. It's vital that we send Cindy Rosenwald to take Betty Lasky's seat, and that we return Deb Pignatelli to the executive counselor. We have been ill-starved by our Republicans that are supposed to be representing us in the south of Nashua, in the south of New Hampshire. And I saw it on a daily basis. And I had a big altercation up there with Senator Avard, because he wanted to cut food stamps for hungry children. And I cornered him outside of the Senate and made him talk to me, and he backed down and he said, "You don't understand my bill. My bill was all about deadbeat dads." It's just the stuff that's going on that is frightening to me, that affects us all in our pocketbook.
Right. And the other thing about Ward 7 too, it's a working class
Very much.
district. People working hard for what they have, maintaining their houses, and they want good schools for their kids, and they want to be able to stay where they are and be part of the community. And so all of these issues have an effect on their bottom line and their pocketbooks.
Dr. Crisp's school is 80% of the children in Dr. Crisp's school are on free lunch program, because that's how poor that school is. And in the first year, all the fourth graders in the state come up to the State House to visit. And I kept asking the lady in the visitor center, "Where are my kids?" And she said they can't afford to come because they have too many kids in the fourth grade and they couldn't get an extra bus. The parents can't afford it.
Really?
Yeah, so I came down and I was meeting with people, and lo and behold, they got their extra bus and they got their field trip. And the mayor, in his wisdom, put the Arlington Street Center up there so that the people in the community can have a place to have access to services.
Yeah,
and
that's
I
great.
admire his wisdom.
And that's so far has been a great resource and asset to the neighborhood, that Arlington Street Community Center. So that's another great thing. There are also a lot of other programs that are operating within your ward to help bring any services that are needed to the folks. So that's great, and it's nice that as an elected official, that's your focus, is your ward.
Could I make a statement about
Absolutely,
that?
yeah. No, this is your time.
Okay, so I also, because I read a letter to the editor this morning that was written by one of my colleagues over in Durham, to the students at UNH, I would also like to welcome back the college students into Nashua and tell them that they have a right to vote here, and if they have any problems, just to let us know.
Great. And so I know you're also, as a state representative, you sit on the county as part of the county delegation. And so the county delegation is made up of all the state representatives from Hillsborough County
Right.
who set the budget for Hillsborough County
Right.
as well. And so I know this is an issue that has concerned you going forward as far as how that's also going to affect property taxes here in Nashua.
Well, it is because somehow Hillsborough County got, I don't know, I can't remember exactly, but it was like $300 million windfall from the federal government. And so instead of beefing things up or, doing the right thing, they gave a less than 1% Hillsborough County property tax relief for all the residents in Hillsborough County. So if you take out your property tax sheet that you get, look for the Hillsborough County section. It's small, very small, and they gave you 1% on that, but they get to then claim that they've cut your property taxes. And not one thing could be further from the truth, because we're going to have to pay for the budget from 2 years ago for several years to undo the damage that's been done.
And so I think the point is that the same people in Concord who are voting on the budget in Concord are the same people who are voting on the budget in
Exactly.
Hillsborough County.
I think it's also telling that Representative Neil Kirk is not running for re-election. And I think that he's one of the Republican power players on the Finance Committee. And I think that he senses that we're going to take control of the House. That's what I think. He had so much power up there.
Sure, and he's certainly been a loud voice for just slashing budgets for, without really looking at what the consequences of that would be.
We were allowed to make comments from our seats or in the aisles to him, and I told him the things I felt about downshifting, and he looked me straight in the face on the floor of the House and said, "We do not downshift to the cities."
Which is not, just not accurate.
No, it's not. And so I'm hopeful that we will have 27 Democrats representing us: Deb Pignatelli, Cindy Rosenwald, and Melanie LeVake. And let's just get it done.
And so Ward 7, there's no primary for the Democratic?
There's not, no. I have two other candidates, Barb Stevens and Greg Indruck. And Greg is young. He's running with the New Hampshire Young Democrats. They're working with him. And Barb is retired like me, and she's been a lifetime Ward 7 neighbor.
Resident, yeah.
Yeah, so it's nice. There's no primary, and we're not running against each other.
And again, we'll point out that there are 3 state representatives from each ward in Nashua.
Right.
So you don't have to choose between the 3 of you. You can vote for all 3 and feel good about that.
Right.
Okay, great. Is there we're down to our last minute or so here. If people would like to get in contact with you or get more information about your candidacy, how should they reach out to you?
I am my Twitter handle is at Nashua Ward 7, and my Facebook is Catherine, the letter 4, Ward, the number 7.
Great.
And so I'm very active on those. And I live at 54 Marshall Street in the ward, so stop on by.
Great.
See my dogs.
Yeah, and your dogs are Newfies?
Yep.
Big dogs?
7 months old and 100 pounds each.
Gentle giants.
Yep.
They're great dogs. I can't imagine all the vacuuming you must have to do with the shedding.
It's horrible.
Yeah. Great. Well, Representative, thank you for being here today. Please reach out to Representative Sofikitis. Am I saying your name right?
Yeah.
Okay. If you have any other questions or would like more information about either the budget, what's going on in Concord, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
No problem. And thank you for joining us, and please feel free to reach out if you need any more information. We'll remind people that Election Day is, well, for the primary, it's Tuesday, September 11th. Even though there's not a primary for your seat in Ward 7, people should still go vote at
Dr. Crisp.
Dr. Crisp Elementary School. Polls are open from 6 a.m. 8 p.m. to 8 p.m. It's important that we get a lot of people out and show how much excitement is out there for our candidates.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you very much.